There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. You may be seated. Order, honorable members. The only item on today's order paper is the questions addressed to the Minister in Cluster 2, Social Services. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which question their members wish to pose a supplementary question. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate participation of members who are connecting to the sitting through the virtual platform. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, has been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technological difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all supplementary questions have been answered by the executive, we will proceed to the next question on the question paper. The first question today, honorable members, has been asked by the Honorable L.J. Basson to the Minister of Water and Sanitation. I have been informed that the Honorable Deputy Minister Mahlobo will respond on the virtual platform. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, House Chair and honorable members. With respect to the question that has been posed, we are pleased to indicate, Chairperson, that the system for water in Gauteng has stabilized after a number of weeks where the system was under stress and the availability of water in our system had dropped below 52% until 38%. Due to the recent rains and good weather conditions, the system has stabilized to above 60%, and our entity, Rand Water, has lifted the restrictions, and many areas in Gauteng are receiving water. We had challenges on the basis of load shedding that affected both Rand Water and all the municipalities in Gauteng in the main because the high-lying areas, they could not be able to use gravitational force to pump water up them. Secondly, there was a heat wave, and the behavior of citizens and consumers impacted very negatively because of issues of sprinkling, irrigation, and the use of water, increasing the demand. And then there were challenges around electrical failure and mechanical failure in some of our systems. We need to indicate that Chairperson, Rand Water is in a process of increasing its water treatment capability on the basis that the population of Gauteng, Chair, has increased over the last few years to above 17 million, and the economy of Gauteng against in proportionate to the GDP has increased. We are going to be building 600 megaliters per day of a capacity to treat water in the last quarter of 2023. Currently, Rand Water is abstracting about 4,400 megaliters per day, and they are exceeding the allocation by 1,600 megaliters. As a department, we've made a decision to increase their abstraction capability, but the infrastructure must be increased in terms of direct proportion. Phase 2 of Lesotho Highlands Water will ensure that there is water security for Gauteng and all the snacks that are between us, Lesotho, and Namibia. They are being sorted by the minister. The last point, Chairperson, we must note that the water services authorities, the municipalities of Gauteng, because of the aging infrastructure that is still an asbestos over years, on average, they are losing 42% of water. It means out of 100 megaliters, more than 42 are being lost. Johannesburg at 44%, City of Tshwane at 34%, and the City of Ekurhuleni at 35%. We are working with them to support, to attend to issues of infrastructure, replacement of asbestos and steel pipes that are susceptible to burst and leaks. But the issues of budget for O&M is a matter of concern that must be addressed. And then the issues of the management of human settlement in Gauteng will be the most important aspect that we need to attend to. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The Honorable Basson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, there is an urgent need to put water higher on government's agenda. Water losses are escalating at a rapid rate, and we see water losses in Gauteng metros between 30 and 50%. You've mentioned 42%, costing the taxpayer billions. This crisis in Gauteng has been developed over many decades. Some water pipes in Johannesburg were installed nearly 100 years ago. These losses are also putting more pressure on Rand Water to purify drinking water. The quality of water infrastructure in South Africa is deemed below average and deteriorating due to poor planning, a lack of financing to maintain aging infrastructure, and to keep up with rapid urbanization. Deputy Minister, what measures are your department going to put in place to stabilize this water losses? And how will government financially assist metros and municipalities in the country to replace aging water infrastructure? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, Honorable Basson, you are quite correct. The only issue that we need to do as South Africans is to stop to politicize water, especially the leader of DA in Gauteng, because those who live in a glass house must never throw stones into that particular glass house. One of the things that has happened, the ANC-led government over the last 28 years, we've expanded access to basic services to many South Africans who had no access to water, especially those who are poor or on the basis of their color of their skin. One of the issues that I admit that we've actually neglected is that our investment in water resource infrastructure has not been consumer rich in terms of the population growth and the GDP growth. And these issues have caught up with us. What are we doing? Rand Water, for an example, to stabilize the issues of security in Gauteng. Already, this is going to be the biggest water treatment plant of 600 megaliters that will be done. And we are putting about 28 billion rands for CAPEX over the next 5 years, starting at this current period, as I've indicated. One of the most important aspects is that local government must play their part too. Number of these municipalities over the last few years have not been using their money or grants, which is the USDG. And some of this money is being returned back. Therefore, one of the issues we will support them working with the other state departments, that we put more money on O&M replaced so that every drop that is being wasted, it counts. But our deployment of water boards with this capacity to these municipalities will help a lot in terms of regenerating our economy. Water indeed is a power issue in terms of government
Unfortunately,
plan. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister, your time has expired. You have 2 minutes to respond to the supplementary questions. Thank you. The next follow-up question will come from the Honorable Matuba.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Members of Parliament, Honorable DM Mahlobo. Wastewater and water treatment is an important process which is a significant source of water. The level of affluence has an impact on the capacity of wastewater and water treatment plants. My question to the Honorable Deputy Minister Mahlobo is, what is the level of compliance with regulations related to wastewater and water treatment works across Gauteng, as the department has issued notices and directives in terms of Section 19 of the National Water Act, as this impacts on the water supply capacity, such as in Rooiwal and Temba, wastewater and water treatment works, and what support does the department
Thank
provide?
you very much. Your time is only 1 minute. And let's just assist in that when you ask a supplementary question, it should consist of only 1 question. But it is the prerogative of the Deputy Minister to respond if you have asked more than 1. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister.
In terms of wastewater treatment systems and the deterioration of water quality is one of the major concerns for our country. We have reintroduced the blue drop and the green drop, and a number of municipalities in Gauteng, some of them are performing on average too well, but there are challenges in the areas that Honorable SG has actually indicated, but we are intervening. If you look at the situation at PLENARY right now, we are intervening in terms of Section 63 of the Water Services Act, and we're working with government of Gauteng in addressing those issues. And at the very same time, the issues of Tshwane are being attended to. And with that, local municipalities, though there are challenges, but generally the issues of wastewater system in South Africa is an area of concern. But wastewater, we are also promoting brown economy so that we can be in a position to ensure that there is no water drop that is being dropped away. And in Limpopo, there are examples where wastewater is being used as an effluent by industries, but also helping the local municipalities to build their capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Buthelezi, IFP. Miss.
Honorable Chair, we'll take it from the side.
Thank you.
Honorable Minister, considering that about 41% of the water that is en route to consumers is lost before it gets to their taps, which tremendously affects the amount of water that communities have access to and can consume. What is your department doing to repair the aging water infrastructure linked to all Gauteng municipalities to ensure that 100% of the water goes to communities and is not lost due to inadequate infrastructure?
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
The responsibility of the distributive system is the responsibility of municipalities. The water that is being lost, the municipalities in Gauteng have a constitutional responsibility to fix their own asset. On our part as national government, especially those that are metros, our sister department has a provision around renewal of infrastructure under USDG, so that we don't lose so much water. But at the very same time, we are supporting them with issues of water conservation and demand management. Therefore, the issues of investment in O&M and fixing of the leaks, in the main replacing that infrastructure that has technically collapsed, is one of the biggest things that we need to do to regenerate our economy to ensure there is an assurance of supply, but more importantly, the right to access to water is not hampered or affected. Thank you.
Thank you. The last follow-up question. Babu Nkwang.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Mhlegazi, in about 2008, there was a nationwide program that was established to develop water reconciliation strategies to address shortfall in water supply caused by the poor operation and maintenance of water supply, treatment and reticulation infrastructure, which result in significant water losses across the country. I want to find out from you whether the approach was used to alleviate the shortfall in water supply and to improve the current inefficient supply infrastructure, especially in many parts of the rural Eastern Cape. Thank you.
Mhlonishwa, Sekela Ngqongqoshe.
Our policy documents, Chairperson, have been improved. The Cabinet has approved the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan. And when you look at the Economic Reconstruction Recovery Plan, in terms of the network industry, water is one of the apex issues, including in terms of the funding, in terms of the budget infrastructure office in the Office of National Treasurer. We are supporting a lot of municipalities, even in the Eastern Cape, whether it is Gqeberha and other areas that we are supporting. But we must admit, we can still do more when it comes to our asset management and the philosophy of ensuring that operation and maintenance is the way to go in terms of ensuring that you can sweat your asset so that your asset can be able to give you a return on that particular investment. Therefore, municipalities working with COGTA should be supported that the 5% of MIC and other grants, we must be in a position to ensure that they actually comply with that money of ONM and is being ring-fenced, that it should never be abused. Because if they do that, there is also the issues of a lost revenue and also of citizens that are denied access to the basic services and customer satisfaction. Thank you.
Thank you. We now proceed, honorable members, to question 716, asked to the Minister of Social Development by the Honorable Mare. The Minister. Honorable Zulu. From the virtual platform. Is that what you got? Okay. The Minister.
Chairperson, it's asking, yes, my apology. It's asking the parliamentary side to unmute me and I get muted automatically. I don't know.
Okay, ma'am. Now you are on, you may proceed.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson, and I wish to thank the member for the question. The Presidential Employment Stimulus Package was introduced by President Cyril Ramaphosa as part of the South Africa's Economic Reconstruction and Development and Recovery Plan, which set out a range of measures to address the socio-economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic. And therefore, the Department of Social Development was given the responsibility to administer the ECD, which is Early Childhood Development Employment Stimulus Relief Fund, to ensure the survival and reopening of the sector. Chairperson and honorable members.
Oh, Dr. Posopu. Honorable Member Posopu, please mute. You are doing this for the second time. Check your gadget, please. Proceed. Apologies for that, Honorable Minister. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson of the House. The ECD Employment Relief Fund was targeted to benefit all types of ECD services registered, conditionally registered or unregistered. And I will need to make this reference because when we started with it, there were a number of ECDs that were not registered, and according to our process and accountability, we needed to also make sure that we give the fund to the right people. So we included them though, because we understood and appreciated the conditions under which these ECDs operate, including the fact that some of them are not necessarily not registered because they want to, but because some of them are in far-flung areas, and sometimes the registration processes might be difficult for others. So they were all included. We have a special program, Chairperson and honorable members, that usually supports these ECDs who were not registered. And we wanted to make sure that by the time we even hand them over to the Department of Basic Education, they are properly registered. I also indicated in my reply that the provincial departments, by the way, I'm answering this question not for the first time, and it repeats itself also on written questions, but it's okay. This is our task. We need to answer. So in my previous reply, I indicated that in KwaZulu-Natal experience challenges and delays with the disbursement of ECD's Employment Stimulus Relief Fund due to a number of reasons, but chief among those reasons was one, information errors in the application, for example, for some ECDs that had captured incorrect names and staff ID numbers, wherein some names did not match the identity document. Number two, some ECDs had made multiple applications, which, by the way, is also another problem, because people must know that the system is a system that is meant to make sure that we pay the right people. So when people do multiple applications, they also confuse our system. Thirdly, in some instances, bank accounts were bearing names of ECD operators instead of centers that are making applications. For some staff, verifications failed as a result of incomplete information and not appearing on the National Population Register, which is administered by the Department of Home Affairs. I do want to say to members here, we try by all means to make sure that our connectivity and our database speaks to each other in government. And lastly, some applications were found, but they were not providing ECD services. We took our time to also continue with our program called Vangasali campaign, where we were assisting ECDs to register so that it becomes easy for them. Through this campaign, we're able to record more than 52,000 ECD services, of which 60% were not registered. And that 60% is quite a high number. So, Honorable Chair, it was not for lack of trying on the part of KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Government of Social Development that they did not spend all the allocated money. It was because of the previous instances which I have said. In fact,
Thank you very much. Your time is now up.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Mare.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just would like to from the Minister, considering the poverty and the extent of the recent flood damages in KZN, KwaZulu-Natal, the fact that the government departments are unable to utilize monies should be seen as the most serious of lights. In the fact, it is treasonous.
Yes, Mr. President, my apology. They've already called me for answering the questions, and I'm on the side answering.
Honorable Minister, please mute when you are not speaking. The question is being asked to you, Honorable Minister. Please proceed, Honorable Member.
Okay, Minister, considering the poverty and the extent of the recent flood damages in KwaZulu-Natal, the fact that government departments are unable to utilize money should be seen as a reason, the most serious of light. In fact, reasoners, what steps have you taken to ensure that the officials who are not able to use the monies for intended purposes are made to account? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that question. But I really would request, Chairperson, that issues and management and administration that has to be done by provinces. The questions may come to us, yes, but at the end of the day, it is the Department of Social Development at a provincial level that will then have to implement whatever measures that need to be taken for monies that have not been spent, first and foremost. Secondly, also we must separate between this money that we are talking about, which was for ECDs, and separate from any other money which was meant for disaster management and all that, because these are two completely distinct and separate issues. What I can do, Honorable Member, is to say the implementation of whatever measures that need to be done, they have to be done by the Department of Social Development at a provincial level. My task would probably to pass the message to the MEC of Social Development and the government of KwaZulu-Natal that this is the concern that is being raised by members at national level. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Mvana, the opportunity is yours.
Thank you, Chairperson. Underspending is not a new phenomenon, but it's a reoccurring weakness.
Can you raise your voice a little bit? I don't
Can
think
I
it's
sit
your
down?
mic. I think you are just too soft. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you, Chairperson. I was saying underspending is not a new phenomenon, but it reoccurrences and weakens the government's social and economic impact. What support mechanism does the department have to support provincial departments in planning and enhancing program implementation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Mvana, for that question. Yes, it is a big problem, not only for the Department of Social Development, but it is a problem for government overall, where monies are not spent, and sometimes there's a rollover, and then we have to go to Treasury and ask for rolling over the money. And in most instances, they are very difficult in giving us, in doing the rollover. However, the department in particular has put in several mechanisms to support provincial departments. These include amongst the following. One, we have established a joint forum which meets monthly and comprises of both national and provincial managers to focus on planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. And by the way, Honorable Chair, one of the things that I decided we need to do as a department, no, as a minister in particular, was that the department does the APPs, which is the annual plans. Now I am demanding from the department that they present the operational plan, because it's good to have the APPs, but when you don't know the operational plan, when you don't know the timelines, when you don't know also in terms of even the expenditure of how much money is going to be spent on what and when. If I do that, then it enables me to make sure that I follow up and avoid this thing of under expenditure. We also develop provincial project plans aligned to our APP. And as I'm indicating, what we're doing at national, I've asked the department to connect the HODs, to connect to the provinces, so that again, we're not only monitoring from a national point of view, we know what is happening at provincial level. We have monthly budget committees to review and manage project expenditure. All reports on projects performed is then presented at various structures within DSD sector for further engagement and interrogation, including heads of social development at the level of the DG as well as MINMAC. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Abrahams.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Chairperson, this is so typical of the ANC government, unable to deliver a service and then shifting blame and passing the buck, all while South African suffers. Online systems do not work because vulnerable groups of people have limited, if any at all, access to internet, smartphones, data, yet we are surprised when DST does not reach their targets. Now, the ECD practitioners in KZN just announced an ECD shutdown from the 14th to the 16th of November as a result of this unpaid funds. And the KZN's head of department indicated 39 million will be returned to them. Now, Minister, KZN is not the only province in the situation. Every other province returned funds except for the Western Cape government. So, Minister, the question is, as the National Minister for Social Development, who has an oversight role and who leads MIDMIC, will you take best practices from the Western Cape government to ensure KZN and all other provinces spend their money and it does not be returned to Treasury for a second time?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. But I think if Honorable Abrahams was asking the question for purposes of getting a response from me, that is genuine, that is from the real work that I do on day-to-day basis, she would have understood exactly when I explained from the very beginning of what steps I have taken, we have taken as the ministry to make sure that this does not happen. As to the political explanations about the Western Cape, congratulations for what you are able to do in the Western Cape, and congratulations for all the other people that are ignored by the very Western Cape government. I didn't come here to make a political statements. I came here to answer to questions genuinely. If I need to make political statement and play politics, I'm not going to do it here. So the honorable member who's asking the question, I already answered the question in explaining exactly how I've realized that this is a weakness. I've really answered the fact that I've asked that the national department connects to the planning of the provincial governments. So I'm here to answer that question. The rest of the politics ain't got time for that right now.
Thank you. Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honorable Minister, I think you would agree with me that underspending impacts.
Allow us to hear what Honorable Sheikh Imam is saying. Oh, I'm sorry, Honorable Sheikh Imam. Start from the beginning, please.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honorable Minister, I'm sure you would agree with me, underspending impacts on the quality of services we deliver. And from time to time, we find that many departments fail to plan timeously, and I think you picked that up, and you are putting measures in place, which I welcome. Now, as a result of that, we are in the process of wanting to introduce zero-based budgeting. Would your department be prepared when we get into zero-based budgeting so that you will plan, you will get the money allocated accordingly, and then spend it timelessly? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sheikh Imam, and thank you for that question. Yes, as a Department of Social Development, we are very much concerned about the underspending, and you are right when you say the underspending, you know, it reduces the services to our people, and it is for this reason that, as I said earlier on, something that we didn't do before, I now do not want to plan in isolation of the provinces. That is why I have directed the HOD, the acting DG, together with the HODs, to take their annual plans, to develop operational plans, to develop even the budgeting towards that, so that we are able to catch where exactly the underspending is. Yes, the zero-based budgeting is something that has been floating for a while now, and I think that government overall, because we cannot isolate ourselves from the overall, we would like this to be something that finally is adopted, because it's been on the discussion for the past 3 years. It was proposed, remember, even at the time that Minister Tito Mboweni was here, and I'm of the view that we either make a decision on it or we don't do it. And as a department, I feel we can be able to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now proceed to the next question, which is question 682, asked by the Honorable Malachi to the Minister of Human Settlements. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Let me appreciate the question by Honorable Malachi. Just to indicate in terms of our audited statements for 2021-2022 financial year, it will be seen by honorable members that we have confirmed, and it's confirmed that we have made the following policy changes. The first one is around the increase in terms of quantum. for subsidy for all housing subsidies or programs. This one starts with the social housing income bands that increased to 22,000. And then we also approved an exemption on social pension recipients from income qualification criteria for housing.
You are muted.
Yeah, it has automatically muted. I'm not so sure, House Chairperson, if we can request Parliament team not to mute us.
You are fine now. You may proceed.
Okay, thank you. We also approved the revised finance-linked policy. But again, what we have done is that we developed a program for the removal and replacement of the disposal of asbestos. We policy on rental housing has been revised, and also the land issue, which we have now decided to fast track. Again, Chairperson, if I may indicate in terms of the title deeds, this is an area that we can acknowledge, honorable members, that we have not been doing very well previously. And that's why we have taken a decision in terms of cabinet. We have specifically now, if we look at it, cabinet has taken a decision that we will utilize the Operation Vulindlela as part of the mechanisms to fast track the implementation and release of title deeds. But again, part of what we have done is to be able to put in place processes for allowing for ownership disputes to be resolved, and then it allows for the title deeds to be registered, because there are various challenges that leads to the slow pace of removal of title deeds. We've also requested that the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development assist us in addressing and reporting in terms of the diseased estates. This is one of. But more importantly, what we have done is to test in terms of fast tracking of old stock, what we call old stock, in terms of title deeds. For example, the declaration of the ministerial project to expedite the release of title deeds in Mabopane, Winterfeld, and Garangua, as part of that pilot for us to be able to see how we can fast track the issuing of title deeds, especially for old stock. These are houses that used to be owned by the apartheid government, and people were not allowed to own but can also lease. So this is part of the work that we are doing, honorable members, in support of the work and fast tracking. But more importantly, we have had an agreement with the Surveyor General and the deeds registry in terms of the turnaround time once we have lodged this title deeds. And this has improved the number of days, has reduced the number of days, but also improved the capacity and the number of title deeds that are issued across the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Malachi.
Thank you, Chair. Migration of South African, mainly from rural.
But you are not Honorable Malachi.
I said, let me assist, Comrade Chair. Thanks.
Okay, no, you just inform.
No,
So that the records go well here.
Apology, Comrade Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Malimacha. Proceed.
Migration of South Africans, mainly from rural to urban areas, and foreign immigrants to urban areas has increased the demand for housing in urban areas, which also impacts the cost of accommodation and housing, which breeds increase in wage growing beyond our intervention in order to supply houses. How is the department coordinating social partners in the housing market to increase housing supply to meet human settlement demands in our urban and rural areas? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Malimecha. Let me start by acknowledging that when we look at the reports that have been released, for example, by UN Habitat, it is said that 70% of the population will be living in urban areas by 2050. And therefore, the response in terms of the new urban agenda that the department has taken is one that is necessary and as part of global action plan for us to be able to deal and respond to urbanization. Honorable members, as part of what Honorable Malimecha is raising in terms of social partnership, one of the areas that we've been able to look at as the department is public-private partnerships to expand in terms of our social housing program, because we do believe that as people move to urban areas, this is where you'll find majority of them living in informal settlements in the country. And when we do profiling of majority of the people who are in informal settlements, within the housing subsidy framework.
Honorable Minister, oya hanga, maybe best utswalle videos.
Okay, thanks, House Chairperson.
Okay. Thank you.
I was saying that if we look at that migration and how we respond and profiling of the people that we find in informal settlements, we are able to deduce that almost 60% of them are people who are not falling within the category of those who are looking for BNG or free housing subsidy. It's people who will fall within the category of social housing. And that's why the importance of the public-private partnership expansion, so that we can, across the country in all urban areas, be able to expand this so that we can provide rental accommodation for those who are looking for one, but also affordable housing for those who qualify. These are majority of the people who are low income earners and who will fall in the category of our Help Me Buy a House market. And the policies that we have and the work that we have been able to do showcase that when we collaborate with private sector, we'll be able to do this. This is in partnership. We have done partnership with DBSA through our NHFC, and now we are working together in housing scheme to be able to provide this service to government employees, and will continue to expand with other private sectors. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you. Le gore re tswalle na le go hanga ke tsebo problem maybe ke network, but we can hear you. Honorable Dr. Kumalo.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair, and thanks to the Minister for those plans. We do trust that they work. The consequences of a continuous non-attainment of critical plans related to issuing of title deeds are many.
Malevu, Swalla. Askis Makuman.
Thanks, House Chair. I'll start afresh and thank you, Chair, and thank the Minister for the plans highlighted. The consequences of the continuous non-attainment of critical plans related to issuing of title deeds are many, including in some cases loss of life and deprivation of South African citizens' dignity, as well as their rights being trampled on. Can the Minister please provide the details around consequences against those responsible and any compensation for citizens who have suffered as a result of the poor performance of the department under her leadership? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable, the Minister.
House Chairperson, thanks, Dr. Kumalo, for the question. I think the issue here around, let me start with the issue of consequence. You'd understand that the work that is being done in human settlement is a concurrent function. So you have responsibilities for municipalities, which in terms of the constitution are independent and have their own constitutional obligation. You'd have provincial governments, which are legal standing entities themselves. So as much as Minister is coordinating and responsible, does not have powers, for example, to exercise consequence management to a metro, which is responsible for example, on other areas. But how we do it, that's why we're utilizing the intergovernmental relations within our legal framework to assist and fast track in terms of implementation. And that's why I reflect that what we have seen as a crisis in terms of this 3 years of government in issuing of title deeds is lack of coordination, but also fast tracking of areas where there are bottlenecks. For example, if this is a township like where I come from in Soweto, and it's an old township, but it's not declared, you cannot issue a title deeds until the municipality has been able to actually declare that settlement as an establishment, and therefore declaring it so that you can be able to issue title deeds. So it's a multifaceted approach, but also that it's disputes within families, where, for example, there's dispute in terms of who is the rightful owner of that house, so that they can be given a title deeds. So you can't exercise what we call consequence management because it's within the beneficiaries themselves. So the inefficiencies are not only from a government point of view or implementation point of view from those who are responsible, but also from the beneficiary point of view, where you find some of the people are not supposed to be in those houses. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Chafeni.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister, the national housing backlog sits at an estimated 2.6 million houses. That is 12 million people in desperate need of decent accommodation. In the Western Cape, there are over 600,000 people on the housing waiting list, while the corresponding figure for Cape Town is more than 365,000 people. Has the government given up on eliminating homelessness in the country? If it hasn't, why has the backlog been allowed to balloon the way it has? Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Thanks, Honorable Tafeni. I think the first issue that we need to understand, especially as we sit in 2022, is that the context of why the number of people who would have now fallen in the category of looking for houses or even subsidies from government would have been as well one of the areas consequences of COVID-19. If we look, majority of the people, you base it on Statistics South Africa. That analyzes.
Yes, Sokoli Samara.
Sorry, House Chair, can you hear me?
Problem king.
Network
Mara, you don't cut for a long time. I think we can connect. Please proceed.
So the issue here is that, for example, if we look at the COVID-19 impact based on the Stats SA report, but also UNDP report that gave analysis of the impact of COVID-19 in the country, you'd find that majority of the people who previously would have had houses now fall in the categories where they do not, and therefore needing a house. That's why you'd have a backlog increasing instead of decreasing. So this is linked to more economic opportunities, but also when you link it to job creation and registry. Part of why we want to correct it and digitize it, you'll find that there are discrepancies in terms of duplication, but also the unreliability of the data. And we have taken a decision to digitize our data so that we are able to clean it up and it can be transparent, but also it can be reliable. So that's the work that we are doing, Honorable Member, and across the country. So we believe once we do the digitization, we'll have a reliable data housing needs across the country.
Thank you. The last one is the Honorable Heron.
Thank you, House Chair, and thank you, Minister. Minister, we've seen during the recent review of the annual reports that our housing program is failing to address the need for adequate housing. In the last financial year, we saw that only about half of the BNG housing targets were met. An insignificant number of FLISP opportunities were granted or approved. The delivery of social housing has made no meaningful access or impact on access to affordable rental housing. And even the informal settlements that were identified for urgent upgrade during COVID were not upgraded or relocated. So we must surely admit, Minister, that the housing program is not functioning. We suggest that part of the reason may be the income household thresholds are too blunt and don't respond to local housing markets. Isn't it time, Minister, for an overhaul of the housing program and the household income means test? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to Honorable Haron. I don't think there's a need for overall haul of the policy, but enhancement of the policy. Let me take, for example, one of the areas that he's reflecting. We did a review of the FLISP subsidy. This is what we now call the Help Me Buy a House. We realized that part of the problem was that how we had initially did, especially in rural areas or areas where people cannot have ownership, there was a challenge. Therefore, that's why we reviewed it and started to implement, for example, even those who had permission to occupy. This is part of what we have been able to do to reflect in terms of the FLIPS market. Let's go to the issue around the affordable financial year 2021-2022. upgraded around 1,204 informal settlements, which are currently in various stages. 307 of them are currently in their final stages where they have been declared as settlements. We are providing services and we are about to build. We continue to build. The honorable member will note in the reports that we've already started to build, and there are quite a number of houses that we are building. Provision of bulk infrastructure has been one of the successes in terms of service sites across the country as well, and that's why we want to expand this. So I do think that, Honorable Harun, as you indicate that there are gaps, to say that nothing has worked is disservice. We need to identify where there are gaps. That's why we're saying one of the performance areas that is weak is in the title deeds. And we've brought in an intervention and we're working together with Operation Vulindlela to be able to expand this. But look at the areas we've gone to the deeds registry to for the deeds title deeds to be issued. So there are quite a number of areas where there is improvement. Coordination between the three spheres of government have been improved. Alignment of planning based on the business plans have been improved through MinMec. You no longer have a situation whereby the left doesn't know what the right is doing. But again, finally, you are able to see in terms of planning, a coordinated efforts and also a coordinated accountability method. You see on the financial performance, there's also improvement where we're starting to see less of an expenditure within the portfolio. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you very much. As we proceed to question 680, asked by the Honorable Zondo to the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. The Deputy Minister will respond to the questions. The Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. With your permission, I think if we break a bit, if I could turn off my video at that point, but I'll try and see how we are doing. The sector education and training authorities are juristic persons with accounting authorities responsible for the governance and oversight of the entities. SETAs are therefore empowered by the legislative and policy framework to implement consequence management and corrective actions where there is non-compliance with the relevant legislative and policy framework. In March this year, the Minister met with all the SETAs and directed them and their accounting authorities meetings must prioritize both performance of the entities and the implementation of the audit action plan. The department in its priority list has written and met with all the SETAs which received qualifications audit opinions for the financial year under review, such as the Construction Sector Education Training Authority, Insurance Services Sector Education and Training Authority, or INSETA, Services Sector Education and Training Authorities, or Services SETA, and Wholesale and Retail Sector Education and Training Authorities, or WNR SETA, as part of the monitoring the implementation of audit actions plan. For accountability during this meeting, the department has directed that the audit action plans must be incorporated to the executive and senior management performance agreements. Furthermore, the second phase, House Chair, on audit interventions and findings to meet all other 11 SETAs which received unqualified audit opinions findings, including the Legal Government Sector Education and Training Authority, or LG SETA. And the department's senior management executive committee has also prioritized the matter of audit findings, including all our entities in the regular meetings. So processes are still ongoing to determine if there was any money lost or not, as provided for in terms of irregular expenditure framework, and any steps to retrieve lost monies will be informed by the outcome of the said process. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Okay. The follow-up question, Honorable Majosi will take charge of the follow-up question.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, this is not your only entity with loss of funds. SETA, as you are saying, it's 1.6 that has to be still found whether it's irregular. You've got also National Skills Fund, which there's 5 billion that is lost within. And why Have you evoked Rule 189 of the National Assembly instead of promoting transparency with regards to the government spending? That is not to give great confidence to the public about government spending on their funds. This goes against the commitment made by the president to root out corruption. What I would like to know is, why have you evoked Rule 189 and where is this money going from? The one that is lost from NSF and from CETA. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, House Chairperson. This is obviously a new question, but we're going to respond to it. There were reasons which were given to the Portfolio Committee on Public Accounts, SCOPA, on why the Minister was requesting that Rule 189 be invoked, which was essentially to try and protect the investigations process involved as it relates to the findings by the AG in terms of the National Skills Fund. We have since agreed with the SCOPA and also with the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, Science and Innovation that the report be made public, and the report has been made public, and that there are also further steps that have been taken to ensure that there is consequence management. The officials who have already been suspended in this regard, firstly. Secondly, both the Hawks and the South African Police Services have been informed of the outcomes of the forensic audit, which was initiated by the Minister through the department. And thirdly, that report has also been submitted to the to the Special Investigative Unit, the SIU, and that our department is in the process of engaging with the SIU in terms of ensuring that we get to the bottom of the issues and problems that are there at the National Skills Fund. I must emphasize and reiterate that contrary to what has been peddled in the media, there is no intention from either the ministry or the department to either sweep under the carpet the findings of the forensic investigations or sideline the SIU in the investigations in terms of the NSF. And thirdly, there are measures that have been put into place to ensure that the NSF is back on a corrective measure. And we're quite excited with the report that we've just received from the AG in this regard.
Thank you. The next follow-up question, the Honorable Mananiso.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, the department has been undertaking reviews in some of its entities, which is a critical intervention to reposition the entities to deliver their mandate efficiency and effectively through business models which are fit for purpose. My question is to you, what additional mechanisms will the department implement to ensure audit outcomes are implemented comprehensively across the SETAs, and is there a need to review the business models of the SETAs to ensure they are more impactful in our skills revolution? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Mananiso and House Chair. As I said, the Minister had an engagement together with myself and the department with all the SETAs earlier in the year, and follow-up discussions took place with the relevant SETAs who had adverse findings from the Auditor General, and that we are monitoring the process in terms of the corrective measures that needs to be put into place so that we do not experience similar financial mismanagement or misappropriation, and that we get the SETAs on a correct footing, firstly. Secondly, there are extensive consultations in terms of the review of the work of the National Skills Fund. And as I was trying to indicate with the response to the first follow-up question, that the last year, and based on the interventions of both the ministry and the department, we are beginning to witness a turnaround as it relates to the National Skills Fund financial management, and the findings are quite improving. Our intention is to see an effective, impactful skills authorities, which includes the National Skills Fund, and all our sector education and training authority. And we believe that with all the reviews that we've done and all the ministerial task teams that have been appointed and the recommendations thereof and their implementation, we should be able to see a turnaround and these institutions making an impact.
Thank you. Dr. Boshoff.
Honorable House Chair and Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, I would like to know if the department or the minister has ever considered rationalizing the whole bureaucracy created by CETAs to maybe be included in the QCTO or in one separate institution which deals with everything that all the CETAs currently do. We had an engagement at the Portfolio Committee with 3 of the CETAs this morning, and it really appears like new institutions just getting out of the woods while they are running for more than 20 years now, for around 20 years. It seems that we have a superfluous bureaucracy built around CETAs, which could be rationalized. Has it ever been considered? Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, we haven't considered any further rationalization of the CETAs. We believe that the fact that there are 1, 2, or 3 CETAs that in the recent past have experienced challenges does not necessarily mean that we have to revamp the entire system. Of course, in the engagement between the CETAs and the ministry and department, it was quite clear that there has to be a turnaround and that CETAs has to make an impact in terms of the goals that they set, as it relates to skills development and the impact that should have. Of course, we will continuously monitor the performance of the CETAs in terms of finances, in terms of their mandate and all of that, and that if there's a need for any further review, we will definitely do that. But as is the case in point now, we are focused on turning around those CETAs that had specific challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Chairperson. My problem is this, that why do we need to wait for the office of the AG to identify acts of corruption, mismanagement, maladministration? What about the internal measures that we ought to have in place to prevent incidents of this? Particularly here, we're talking about 1.6 billion. What additional measures are you putting in place to prevent this in the future? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member and House Chair. As I've already indicated, we have put in place measures to try and prevent, these type of actions, recurring. But also over and above that, as I said in my initial response, that we are monitoring all the 3 CETAs that are referred to in this question, and that we want to really see consequence management. I think that we, obviously have to understand that the role of the AG is obviously a stopgap, and that we're continuously, monitoring all of this situation. But, beyond everything else, what we want to see is service delivery. And yes, service delivery include that we should prevent any, form of wastage and all of that. But we hope that with all the controls that we've put into place, we will not see this situation recurring.
Thank you. We now proceed to question 683, asked by the Honorable Zeke to the Minister of Water and Sanitation. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, thank you very much, and thanks to our whip, Excellency Comrade Grace, on this question. Firstly, to indicate that there are new matters And all these new matters, we shall investigate them so that on the basis of these investigation, proper action is being taken. On the basis that action that will be taken, either disciplinary action or criminal referrals or civil recoveries, will then be in a position to approach National Treasury for condonation so that we can be in a position to reduce the irregular expenditure of the department. We need to indicate that on the basis of these new cases, we've increased the capacity of internal audit by bringing more panel of forensic investigators to look at these issues. And we are proactively engaging with the Office of the Accountant General. In the past, Chair, in the last 2 to 3 years now, we had 147 cases that have been investigated that resulted in disciplinary action taken against officials. Where the fraud and awareness sessions that have been conducted in the department, the number is 78, and more than 1,900 officials have been trained. There are cases that have been referred to law enforcement agencies, and 10 of these cases, Chair, are under investigation, and the other 15 cases have been closed. As we are quite aware, there are investigations by the Special Investigating Unit in a number of issues in the department. Those are being attended to. And there's a progress in terms of recovery of funds. Out of the 15 cases, we are looking at 8.8 billion that has been investigated, and it has been submitted to National Treasury for condonation. 52 cases of a value of about 2 billion that are with internal audit for investigation. And that panel I spoke about, they are looking at those issues. And 301 cases of a value of about 5.7 billion are being assessed for determination and for referral. And some of these investigations, Chair, the department has been able to receive money back. If you look at that SAPS contract, SAP contract that we had, and due to those particular issues. But the department has stabilized. There is management at the top of the organization so that we can be able to ensure that we provide leadership. But the attack of a corrupt department that has malfeasance, action is being taken without any fear or favor or contradiction. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tsake.
Ke a leboga Modulasetilo, ke a leboga Deputy Minister Mahlobo. The lifestyle audits and strong internal controls exercised by an official who is not pliable to corrupt practices can strengthen governance. We welcome the going process which seeks to strengthen this good governance in the Department of Water and Sanitation. Deputy Minister, what intervention is the department implementing to ensure it strengthens its internal controls on procurement processes to negate abuse of supply chain management? Officials, supply chain management officials and senior officials and service providers who unduly influence officials, and wouldn't a lifestyle audit in the department and its entities assist without officials involved in malfeasance? Ke a leboga, Modulasetilo.
Re leboge mme. Mhlonishwa, Sekela Ngqongqoshe.
We have strengthened our compliance and governance structures, Chairperson. In the main, our bid specification and bid evaluation and adjudication committees, we have introduced the rotation for those particular committees. At the very same time, any procurement that we do a validation through the use of internal audit, because it's one of the instruments that we are using because our internal audit is very strong. We are also promoting issues of awareness so that we can raise the level of consciousness around morality and ethics and staff training and development. And our internal controls are being sharpened so that we can be able to deal with those issues. I know that government has rolled out the issues of lifestyle audit, and we are one of those particular departments that we are engaging with DPSA to look at lifestyle audit, especially those who are working in procurement and also in infrastructure. And then lastly, declarations and consequence management around of those who are not declaring on time. Action is being taken, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Maybeck.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, whilst we would like to acknowledge that the needle seems to be moving ever so slightly in the department and there are glimmers of hope that there might be a new approach, some serious concerns remain, however, given the high number of cases of financial misconduct which remains under investigation. Could the Deputy Minister give us an indication of, I know he threw around some numbers, but could you give us a ballpark figure in total? What is the financial, the monetary value of the financial misconduct being investigated in total? And apart from prosecuting individuals, and hopefully some will go to jail and serve time, what practical steps is his department taking to recover the much needed funds which have been lost for much needed reconstruction, infrastructure and maintenance? And would he not agree that the theft and the fraud committed under the watch of the ANC has done irreparable harm to the people and to the economy of this country? Thank you.
Thank you. Before you respond, Honorable Deputy Minister, honorable members, please let us adhere to our rules. Rule 1427 clearly states how follow-up questions are asked. And you must ask one question. Even though we always say it's the prerogative of the minister, let us adhere to our own rules. Honorable Minister, please. Thank you. Proceed.
Chair, we are reconfirming. There were too many questions, as you say. Let's reconfirm. 147 cases have been investigated and action has been taken against officials. Currently, there are 25 cases that have been referred to the law enforcement agencies, and currently 10 are being investigated and 15 have been closed. And out of those 15, there is an 8.81 billion rand that has been investigated, and we are going to National Treasurer for issues of condonation. 2.035 billion that the internal audit is still investigating, and our panel of forensic investigators are looking at that particular matter. And a total of 5.709 billion is being assessed for the determination test and will be referred to internal audit for investigation. And if you could do those calculations, honorable member, you will do, because that includes both the main account and the water trading account. But as you agree yourself, His Excellency President Ramaphosa and our ministry, we are actually dealing with issues of fighting corruption and malfeasance. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Mushala. Ma'am Shala.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, in April this year, the ministry issued an incoherent media statement following revelations by the media of the fact that the minister had ignored critical reports of corruption against senior and junior officials in the department. These reports were submitted by the Disciplinary Advisory Committee. To date, has the minister taken any action against any officials based on the reports of the Disciplinary Advisory Committee? If not, why has he continued to ignore these reports? Furthermore, Deputy Minister, are any of those cases taken as criminal or civil to court? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Mushala is quite aware that we had an opportunity to have a presentation in their own committee about the allegations that were being made by Daily Maverick that we refuted, but at the very same time quietly demonstrated about the action we took. And that committee meeting was so expanded that more than 81 people attended on that particular day. And the figures that are here a quiet demonstration about the action that were being taken. We reconfirm there are internal disciplinary action that have been taken and people have been fired, others have been warned, others have been referred for criminal action as I've given the numbers, including civil, and we have started recuperating funds by those agencies or organizations that have defrauded the state. That example of SAP where we've received more than 200 million is the testimony that we're trying to claw back the money back to the fiscus so that it can be redirected to provide basic service like water. Thank you.
Thank you. The next supplementary question that was to be asked by the Honorable Hendricks will be read by the Honorable Jafta. Honorable Jafta.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, how many cases were referred for investigation by the former Minister of Water and Sanitation? And which is the first case that someone has actually been charged with misconduct and for floating the supply chain management processes? I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister.
I don't have a figure, Honorable Chairperson, about former ministers. What I have is an organization called the Department of Water and Sanitation. From the period 2019-2020 to 2022-2023 financial year, 147 cases have been investigated, Chair. I've indicated that 25 cases have been referred in the same period to the law enforcement agencies, of which 10 of them are currently under investigation. The other 15, the law enforcement agencies have decided to actually close those cases. And I've made reference to the figures around the monies that are involved, but also the ability of the state to recover those resources that were unduly given to those organizations, as I've made a case about the IT company, but there are many others that involve our own state entities like the water boards, which are not part of the main question today. Thank you.
Thank you. We move now to the next question, which is question 745, asked to the Minister of Health by Honorable Ismail. The Deputy Minister will answer the questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Firstly, to apologize for the minister who's held up in a gender-based violence and femicide summit in Pretoria. To Honorable Ismail, the response is the department currently received the information from the whistleblowers in the Office of the Director General through the Office of Public Service Commission. That ensures confidentiality by requesting internal units to confirm allegations without indicating the source of information. These are labor relations and internal audit. Other matters are submitted to the Ops or Special Investigation Unit or South African Services if involving criminal financial misconduct. However, the department is in the process of strengthening the processes to report allegations of fraud, corruption, and protection of whistleblowers by developing the anti-corruption and fraud strategy, whistleblowing policy, standard operating procedures, and to communicate further to the hotline, the hotline from the Office of the Public Service Commission for reporting fraud and corruption cases in relation to the department. Secondly, the department, in collaboration with the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, has approved the concept by this United Nations body to develop and establish a whistleblowing protection and risk assessment and mitigation in the procurement system within the health sector, which is due to be launched soon. Details will be provided upon finalization of the concepts by the Department of Health. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Ismail.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Minister,
Given the fact that even family members of high-profile people are allegedly involved in possible tender corruption at Tembisa Hospital, one of the many transactions flagged by Babita Deokaran before her brutal murder. What constructive steps are taken to address the serious irregularities, and please advise whether these companies will be sanctioned? Thank you.
The Honorable, the Deputy Minister.
In 2018, Honorable President Ramaphosa listened to the cries of South Africans who are health activists and stakeholders with regards to the dysfunctionality of some processes within health. And then the health summit was then convened over 2 days. Amongst other things that actually came out of the 2-day health summit was therefore a document called the Presidential Health Compact. Part of it therefore included an establishment of an anti-corruption forum within the health sector, which got various bodies that are in there. So those are processes where all South Africans could even get into within those agencies that probably, if time given, would list them all. So there is a specific anti-corruption forum within the health, which has since been established, and all South Africans should probably assist us in going in there. And there is a website even for that. I mean, if you call 0800 037 774 as an anonymous caller, that should actually lead into the processes of really establishing this. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Jacobs.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, shouldn't whistleblowing be distinguished from a duty? And this is not a question, it's actually just a paraphrasing, which is a duty of non-voluntary duty to inform superiors or others of any wrongdoing. So the question is, does the Ministry of Health plan to enforce this non-voluntary duty as part of its whistleblowing strategy for the department? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chair, maybe just to expand even on the previous question by Honorable Ismail. The various agencies that have been brought together is one, the Special Investigation Unit being the lead, Council for Medical Schemes, Health Professions Council, National Prosecuting Authority, Financial Intelligence Center, Directorate for Priority of Crime Investigations, Corruption Watch, Section 27, Board of Healthcare Funders Association, Health Funders Association, National Department and Provincial Departments. And also when this forum sits, it also invites the National Treasury, the Compensation Fund, the state security agencies, because it is a duty of all of us. We have no choice. We really have an obligation wherever we are. So this will allow all South Africans through any of these agencies or institutions to report crime and make sure that anything that has to do with criminal activities, fraud and corruption within the health sector is reported to any of these bodies. It will assist us to really be able to nip it on the bud. So including what actually Honorable Ismail was saying. So yes, we have no choice. It's an obligation. We are mandated. We have created a statutory body to really investigate and make sure we bring this to the court. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Chembekwayo.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Babita Deokaran was assassinated after she had flagged down dodgy payments amounting to 850 million at Tembisa Hospital. The problem is the audit that was initiated as a result of her whistleblowing was stopped on the day she was murdered. Have you done anything to really get to the bottom of the road of Tembisa Hospital so as to ensure that Babita does not die in vain? What measures have you put in place to ensure that many who want to speak out do not suffer the same fate as Babita? Thank you.
Okay. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chair, thank you, Dr. Timbegwayo. That matter was really a very sad story of a very responsible South African citizen who stood up and wanted to report crime, and she did, and they was actually under the protection for that, and for actually blowing the whistle headed to and had the fate that actually went her way. It's going to be discouraging for me and you to continue to do that part of being whistleblowers if we cannot protect and make sure those who are actually whistleblowing, make sure they can actually be protected to the core. So it's a challenge that we really still face. I am very much aware how much the minister is engaged with this. Of course, happening at the provincial Tembisa Hospital within Gauteng is a matter that is actually the priority for the minister. I will not have details now because it's something that probably we would have to go behind confidentially and get that information. Of course, sensitively so with the family affected to deal with it in that way. So I may not have details here, but all I can say that the matter of Tembisa Hospital and the fraud that was actually investigated by the dear staff member who passed on is actually getting a top priority attendance by the Minister of Health. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The last follow-up on this question will be asked by the Honorable Singh.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, I always say when I speak at a funeral of anybody that passes on through tragic circumstances, that when a person closes their eyes, others who are around should learn from what happened. And I think we've learned a lot from the tragic incident of Babita you've mentioned. Now, Honorable Deputy Minister, you say that in 2018 there was a presidential summit and that your department is now looking at developing standard operating procedures and anti-corruption and whistleblowing. Don't you think it's taken far too long for that to happen, 4 years? Is there any time frame for when there will be a policy so that whistleblowers feel assured that their identities will not be revealed, their lives will be protected, etc., if they have to whistleblow? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Singh, we are just but part of entities that are working on the forum. And as health, we have very limited knowledge on issues of security and safety. We rely on some of these bodies that I've referred to with competency to lead and actually say, how do we develop this? We would have wished to have developed this as of yesterday, but with our limitation in terms of understanding, we need to get everybody, because some of the entities I have listed here have got other duties that are pressing on. So we have to get everybody to be in the house or logged in to agree to lead us. So we are being led to work on a complete program. But where we are, I think we should not despair. The only thing that I always say is that whenever you put any standard operating procedure in place and it works for you, you must actually know that criminals will always get better and also go out around what we have already created and do other things. Otherwise, our competency probably becomes a short-lived one unless it is watertight. So we are avoiding doing that. We want to be led into creating those standard operating procedures by the competent people who have the skills to guide us, because we just report a mess within the department, but we need other very competent people around us in the country who have much better competency to really guide and support us going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We proceed to question 673. Also asked to the Minister of Health by the Honorable Reverend Mishwe. The Honorable Deputy Minister. Question 673.
Yeah, Chair, you would probably cut me down when I'm reading this one. It's quite a lengthy one by Honorable Mishwe. The Department of Health administers and regulates the hazardous substances through the Hazardous Substance Act of 1973 as amended. Under this act, there are regulations titled Regulations Relating to the Aerial Application of Agricultural Remedies, Government Gazette number 16880 of 20 December 1995, which deals with the aerial application of agricultural remedies. In addition, the department has developed a guideline in 2022 titled Guidelines for the Investigation and Environmental Control of Human Chemical Exposure and Poisoning Cases, a guide for environmental health practitioners. The Department of Health regulates chemical safety, which is implemented by metropolitan and district municipalities in their areas of jurisdiction, supported by both national and provincial health departments. This function falls under the Municipal Health Services as defined in the National Health Act of 2003, as amended, and it is carried out by environmental health practitioners to protect those living in targeted areas. The regulations of 2020, December 1995, requires that the inspector, which is in this case an environmental health practitioner, be furnished with the following information. 1, the name and business address of the aerial application firm, the date of the aerial application. 2, 3, the trade name or of the industry, known or unknown, the active ingredient of the agricultural remedy that will be used and the quantities thereof, the name and address of the supply of such an agricultural remedy, the names and addresses of the employees involved in the aerial spraying, and the protective clothing that would be worn by the employees. Furthermore, during the course of duty, the environmental health practitioners are expected to create awareness and educate the public and community at large on pesticides and or chemical safety to those living in targeted areas to reduce the potential risk of exposure to the chemicals involved, under whose jurisdiction such activities shall be carried out. It should, however, be noted that there are other regulatory and enforcement authorities that play a role in this area, such as the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question, Honorable Mishra.
Thank you, House Chairperson, and thank you, Deputy Minister, for your reply. It appears that not enough is being done to promote the constitutional rights to clean air of citizens living in residential areas or working on or near industrial farms. Thousands of South Africans living close to industrial areas have reported respiratory and immune disorders that have been proved by many studies to be the result of exposure to pesticides and other toxic chemicals used. Countries such as Bulgaria and Britain expect commercial farmers, as an example, to issue warnings to nearby residents before spraying their crops. Slovenia has banned for buffer zones around farms. Now we want to see our government do the same. What is government's policy? After what I've heard the Deputy Minister say, with respect to protective equipment for farm workers, that is being implemented, because we see some farm workers spraying pesticides without protective equipment. And what are the potential health risks of these chemicals that are sprayed into the air to humans from direct contact and also via ingestion of water, food, and food contaminated by these chemicals? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mishra.
Yeah, Honorable Mishra, as on my last part of the main question asked, I was just saying we should note that there are other regulatory and enforcement authorities that play a role. In particular, the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development. Most health facilities pick up patients coming into clinics and hospitals with a gonophosphate poisoning because of that mishap where they were doing aerial spraying and there was no other protection and all that. And therefore, it is sometimes the other environmental health practitioners that are under the jurisdiction of a particular municipality not having been aware or not were there to actually check, or it's just the short chaining of a protocol done by some farmers where they would prefer to do aerial spraying without actually informing the citizens locally and getting them to be protected or their employees. So it's not just one body. So it is not a policy that is coming from health. We just come in there to assist and be part of actually reducing the impact that aerial spraying might have on citizens. But there are other agencies, particularly agriculture, land reform and rural development, that must lead in terms of awareness of the farmers, farm workers, and the citizens who stay next to those farmlands. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Gela.
Thanks, Chair. The level of civic education and awareness can have limitations, which can result in citizens being negatively impacted by aerial spraying of chemicals, particularly in agricultural area. Dinangwe, what measures can citizens take in instances where there's no compliance with regulations? And what support does the department provide to affected citizens in instance of harmful chemical exposure? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Gela, it's a difficult one depending what type of a citizen is that you are talking about. If that citizen happens to be a farm worker, very unlikely that if they have not been given protective clothing, they will complain about it. It has to take a very strong, united group of citizens who are farm workers to raise complaints if they are actually expected to do aerial spraying without actually protective clothing. Number two, we will also rely on a very strong civil movement on the areas that are bordering farmlands to be able to raise this as a strong voice for their protections because of the pollution that can go to water, the land, and including them if they receive it. So we might actually strongly advocate for citizens' education, but again, whoever is responsible must be able to and readily support those programs. Well, some of them is out of human error, but others is out of negligence, where people are not given what is supposed to be given to them to protect themselves against any hazardous waste. I mean, really, it's good for aerial spraying for insects and this and that, but if you are killing insects, please don't kill people, because that poison is also dangerous to human life. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question from the Honorable Clerk.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, how many cases of hazardous substances has the NICD and SAPRA been notified of in the past 5 years? And what processes have been followed in terms of these cases? Is there a list available in terms of these chemicals, pesticides, and hazardous substances available from the NICD? And what processes will the department put in place in terms of regulating these substances? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Yeah, Honorable Clerk, you will realize if you say how many cases of reported pesticides in poisoning have been reported by NICD to SAPRA over the past 5 years, is probably something that need to go and work and get to you. It's not possible to really, but I will note that and indicate, because what you're actually saying, it will indicate how much of this problem we do have. And 2 or 3 may still be an issue to be followed up, but hundreds and thousands of those may just mean that we are really being negligent or this matter has not been attended to. I may not be able to provide figures now, but I will follow up and send the responses to you if I do find it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. And the last one by the Honorable Tembewayo.
Thank you, House Chair. The question will be taken by Honorable Suis. Deputy Minister, in the case of a couple that passed on due to chemical spraying in a neighboring flat where they were staying, the couple passed on. Are there any programs that have been put in place to educate citizens about dangers of sprayed chemicals in residential areas? If there are any programs, how many has the department embarked on? If there are none, what are the reasons that such programs have never been initiated by the department? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Like I indicated, we are just part of the stakeholders. In each and every municipality, district, and metros, there are people employed called environmental health practitioners. They need to go out into the community to do awareness, health education, and all that process. They also need to monitor very closely where there are going to be aerial spraying to re-educate our people and monitor and check if the aerial spraying has not affected the residential areas. So I may not have an idea now how many in each municipality has been actually affected, but also in the case that you are referring to, I could not pick up where exactly it happened in that residential area. It's a matter that needs to be followed, but in principle, there are environmental healthcare practitioners in all municipalities in the country, especially those that are closer to places that have got farmlands, who will then have to monitor and actually evaluate the effectiveness and the follow-up of the standard of procedures when they do the aerial spraying. And that matter is a matter that might be followed up and jack it up again in municipalities where this is supposed to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The question number 6684 has been asked by the Honorable Advance to the Minister of Basic Education. The Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister.
Chair is the Deputy Minister. My
Welcome,
network
Chair.
Yes, my network is a bit terrible.
But your voice is not. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The question is about a national school nutrition program. The answer is, in the main, the national school nutrition program is delivered by respective provinces in all the 9 provinces. And the fund, they are also the fund recipients in terms of the Division of Revenue Act. The Department of Basic Education, who is the holder of the fund, transfers the fund to the respective. So it looks like there's another meeting.
Okay, go ahead, Honorable Minister.
Okay, yes.
Go ahead, Honorable GM.
Thank you, Chair. The fund holder, like I said, is the Department of Basic Education that transfers the funds to the respective provincial education department on quarterly basis. And this is done on the basis of approved business plans by the provinces. No fee schools and some deserving fee-paying schools receive funding from their respective provincial education departments to feed deserving learners on a daily basis. It has become a norm that schools procure the required foodstuffs from micro and small business enterprises, SMMEs. So the SMMEs, in some other instances, they do work with smallholder farmers, but it depends because they just give the SMME to be the one that supplies the food. But in other instances, the schools procure direct from the SMMEs as well as the small holding farmers. So the Department of Education, in monitoring the spending of the fund, there are quarterly meetings that are held
with the provincial departments because they have a responsibility to submit quarterly reports on a rollout of the school nutrition program to the department. So in these quarterly meetings, that's where the reports are scrutinized and the provinces are account to the Department of Basic Education. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question is by the Honorable Bengo Kikaba.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. DM, government expenditure is important in stimulating the economy. Beyond compliance with the BBBEE regulations, what collaboration and intergovernmental programs does the department have with departments in the economic sector to ensure its spending on goods and services and infrastructure development projects contributes to the transforming economy value chain in areas of its spending? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable GM.
Thank you, Chair. The Department of Basic Education is working together with the Department of Small Businesses. We hold regular meetings with the department to ensure that all the services that we provide as the department, we use the small businesses. So even provinces on infrastructure like the SAFE and ASIDI projects, we work with small businesses. That's why we even push that they get paid within 30 days, because failing which we are collapsing the small businesses to grow into bigger businesses. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable PP Notata.
Chair, I'll take that.
You're welcome.
Where the school nutrition program is properly implemented, it improves regular school attendance, concentration, punctuality, and the general well-being of more than 9 million of our learners. According to the AG report, this conditional grant is being abused by most of our provinces. During the COVID pandemic, the Western Cape Education Department had to take this department to court in order to continue to provide learners with their daily meal. Furthermore, the Western Cape Education Department has helped to set up 571 food gardens at schools to provide nutritious meals to learners because of the current rise in the cost of living due to the weak economy. Similar to the Western Cape Education Deputy Minister, what steps will your department put in place to ensure that all provinces decentralize their procurement and ensure that our children's right to basic education and basic nutrition is met under the current circumstance of rising food costs?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chair, thank you so much, House Chair. There is nothing new that is done by the Department of Education in one of our provinces called Western Cape. What they are doing is exactly what other provinces are doing. The schools we visit, they have gardens. Most of the schools, even in townships and rural areas, to just support the school nutrition program budget. So this program, Chair, is pro-poor. It's meant for access to education, attendance, and punctuality, because some of the learners, they depend solely on this meal that they eat at school. And when they come home, they have nothing to eat. So we really appreciate what Western Cape is doing, which is exactly what other provinces are doing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question is by the Honorable Mashabela.
Chair, it will be taken by Dr. Tembakwai.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We just would like to ask on specifically the schools that you used to have their own gardens. Yes, you from the answer that you gave, You said something about it, but what we wanted to know from you is that this own school gardens have been decommissioned. And what is the purpose of this dramatic decommissioning of agriculture from mainly schools attended by African children? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question is by the Honorable Ngobo. Pane?
The Deputy Minister has responded.
Sorry, Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much, House Chair. And thank you for the question by Honorable Tembegwayo. On this one, I would love Honorable Tembegwayo to give us a specification because we have not had land where there's a decommissioning of school gardens. We encourage school gardens, and we encourage that even SGPs, they must make sure that there are gardens in schools to supplement the school nutrition program. We will check on that one because we also wish to support the small and emerging farmers. So, but it should not that one works over the other, that at the expense of the other, because we are not only feeding learners, but we also support the economy of our country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question by the Honorable Ngobo.
Honorable House Chair, will take it from the House. Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, taking into consideration the cash flow limitations of small farmers and also resources that they do not have, historically disadvantaged farmers and cooperatives have producers of this type used in the National School Nutrition Program over the past year. All received their financial compensation within the 30-day payment compliance window for the payments to service providers. If not, why not? If so, please provide details.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
House Chair, what we support and push as the department is that all SMMEs must be paid within 30 days. So if there's anyone who has not been paid, they do report to MECs and or the minister, and we attend to that one and push, because there's no reason why they should not be paid. The money is there. That's why we send trenches every quarter to provincial departments that they must pay the people. It's unlike where we'll say we still have got to get the money somewhere. The money is there. When they deliver the service, they get paid. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Question number 731 by the Honorable Heron to the Minister of Social Development. The Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister. I will pass. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable P. Heron. Let's hope the Minister will respond to this one.
House Chair, do you want me to ask the supplementary without the answer?
Yeah. Yes, can I please give the answer first? Yeah, can I give the answer?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We've seen a significant increase in the number of eligible applicants since the implementation of the amended regulations. Before the amended regulations came to effect, the average number of monthly approved applications were in April, and we had 8.1 and approved 4.7. In May, 10.6 and approved 5.7. In June, 6.8, 11.3 applied and 6.8 approved. And then in July, we have an entire table actually that goes right up to the current month, What I want to clearly indicate and thank obviously, I wish to thank Honorable Heron for asking the question, but do say to him and the members, I'm not really happy with the numbers and the numbers that are that have been applying and approved. And I tell you why I'm not happy, because I'm looking at the last iteration with the numbers that were quite high, right up to 11 or 15 million, something like that. And then the last iteration, which is now, which in my view, it was 12 million actually, 12 million applications, and we covered, we approved quite a huge number of those. But with the new regulations and the new iteration, the numbers went down. And I have asked SASSA in particular to really do an analysis of why we are in this, even though I can say, just as a start, because of the regulations and all and the changes, I know that was what was going to happen. I've asked SASSA to do an analysis on the decrease month to month, year to year, and also be able to present what the variables are, because when all is said and done, we shouldn't be very far from what we were paying originally, because if you look at it, the number of people that have been able to go back to work is very, the numbers are small. And so once that report has come through, I think it will enable us to make a proper analysis. But when all is said and done, it's also about the budget that we get from Treasury. We are pushed to stay within the budget itself, but at the same time, I am personally saying to SASSA and the department, which does an oversight of SASSA, let us do a proper analysis and get to see where exactly the problem is. Why are so many people not being approved? And this thing of checking, obviously, with the bank statements and all that also has got an effect and impact on it. But I just want in short to say, I've already asked for the report so that we can do a better analysis than what we have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question, Mr. Honorable Heron.
Thank you, House Chair, and thank you, Minister, for the response. Minister, I think obviously the declining numbers of approved beneficiaries is worrying, because clearly poverty is not declining. But without the real numbers at hand, and if it's estimated to be around 6.8 or 11 million beneficiaries, that's a lot of people who are dependent on the social relief of distress grant. We welcome that the finance minister announced a temporary extension of the grant, but Minister, you must know that the millions of South Africans who are the poorest amongst us, who are dependent on the small income, can never be placed in a position where the income is completely withdrawn. I think it's common sense, let alone any questions about morality and legal duties that our state has to those who have no access to income, that once we've given some financial support to that large proportion of our population, we can't simply ever withdraw it. I think we have to recognize, Minister, that the social security is a right in terms of Section 27, and it's not a gift. And it would be good for us to stop treating those who need the
Frozen, Honorable Heron.
Abuse those who think that we must make some binary choice between basic income and growing our economy in a way that creates jobs. We obviously have to do both. But the reality is that even if we doubled our economic growth projections, we would still be stuck with about 8 million unemployed people for the next 15 years. So unemployment is not going away in the medium term. So we believe, Minister, that it's common sense and a moral and a legal imperative that we implement a basic income grant which will meet the lower bound poverty line of approximately 890 Rand per person per month. Does the Minister have any plans to implement a permanent social security plan in the form, or which would include a basic income grant or guarantee, which would use the SRD as the foundation upon which to build it? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Heron. And as I have indicated in a number of platforms, but as well as Parliament itself, as a Department of Social Development and SASSA, we have already indicated that firstly, we were happy, obviously, with the extension of the social grant, because that for us was a worry, considering all the issues that Mr. Heron, Honorable Heron has indicated here. And yes, we think that the SRD, which we started with as 350, is a stepping stone towards the basic income grant. And yes, the basic income grant is now about the how of it, and how, where are we going to get the money, and is the how of it. But as to the question of whether we need it or not, that question we've gone past that already. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Second supplementary question by the Honorable Bilankulu.
Na khensa mutshami wa xitulu. Xivutiso xa mina ni ta xi kongomisa ka muchaviseki Holobye Zulu. Mara ni nga se va vutisa mo ni xeweta maAfrika-Dzonga, ni xeweta na n'wina hinkwenu kwale xigazeni. Honorable Minister, my supplementary questions goes like this. How is the department creating opportunities for innovative applications and financial technology innovations to transform and enhance the grant payment system to ensure small enterprises benefit through a distributive model which enables recipients to support small businesses, local and township businesses? Inkomo, na khensa mutshami wa xitulu.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
I can, honorable members, Honorable Vilankulu, thank you very much for that question. Yes, quite frankly, the issue of trying to ensure that the money of the social grant, not what do we call it? The money of the social grant rotates or is spent and spends time within the township and in rural areas through the usage of your small and medium enterprises is at the center, because if we were to talk about economic transformation, some people might think economic transformation is about big monies. Even this money that is being spent on social grants, it is money, and this is a financial muscle of government that can give us an opportunity to improve economic development in the township and in rural areas. We are in conversation also, by the way, with the Minister of Small Business Development, as well as the Minister Nchaveni, about what can we do to make sure that beneficiaries are able to access whatever they want to access or procure what they want to procure in these small and medium enterprises, both in the township and in the rural areas. And of course, as a minister who was a Minister of Small Business Development before, I do appreciate and understand the importance and the opportunity that is being presented by this financial muscle, that is the money that is being given to our people and the expenditure thereof, that all the time that money is being spent in big it is being spent in big shops, when it is still possible for us to create systems that are enabling for your small and medium enterprises. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question by the Honorable Opperman.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, food prices are rising and the cost of living are rapidly increasing, yet the new means test for eligibility for the SRD 350 grant, the online-only process, outdated databases, closed post offices, and smartphones that can no longer be used to apply are excluding millions of beneficiaries who previously qualified. Fewer people than before are getting the grant, while poverty are increasing. What measures has DSD put in place for the millions of qualifying vulnerable South Africans who are now excluded from that safety net?
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, I fully agree. And one of the reasons why I indicated earlier on in answering the question by Honorable Heron about us doing an evaluation and making sure that these people are not left out and also the system does not kick people out. It's part of the process that I was talking about. It wasn't just about the issue of why do we have so many people being rejected by the system. It is about the system itself. And by the way, Honorable Member, the applications are still as high as they were. So the issue of people applying using the same system that they were using before, it's still very effective. The issue is the means test. The issue is the regulations that we needed. That's why we even had to change the threshold, because the threshold was also what was making it very difficult for us. We do not want, as a Department of Social Development, to have so many people that are left out. And we are raising this issue, particularly with the SASSA, to say, let's go back to the drawing board, because we had so many people that were receiving, and those that actually do not qualify, we can still check in as far as the data is concerned. And the data is not necessarily that outdated when it comes to the applications, the people who are applying through SASSA, because we need to check the data against Home Affairs and all other department relevant, because we do not also want people who are getting other form of grants now to be collecting the 350. But at the same time, I'm very conscious of the issues you are raising, plus the issues that were raised by Honorable Heron earlier on. That's what I have requested that both the department and SASSA look into, because again, as I say, we can't afford to have so many people lost in the system and not receiving the money.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question is by the Honorable Aris.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, despite the announcement that the SRD grant will be extended for 12 months, what concrete plans have you put in place, as you have indicated that you will assist young people to get jobs and get skilled? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Aris, and it's always a pleasure to answer your questions. I've got hundreds of them for written replies. Thank you very much. Yes, as a department, recall that in our answering the questions, even on written replies, we have said that we are plugging in, as a Department of Social Development, 1, to the EPWP program, 2, to the YES program, 3, not only the department, but also if we consider the fact that our National Development Agency, its role is also to empower cooperatives, also to empower small businesses on the ground to make sure that they are able to run their businesses. We even, let me just make an example. Last month or this month, we were in the Northern Cape. And I was very excited to find that a cooperative of young people in the Northern Cape, which is funded by the National Development Agency, which falls under SASSA, is growing because NDA did not only just fund them, it also made sure that they are connected to training. It also made sure that they are connected to market, because some of these people that we are supporting, they start their cooperatives and they produce, like these ones are producing uniforms, but they were not having the market where to sell the uniforms. But because SASSA, NDA and the department have gone out to also speak to schools for them to be able to procure from them, it means that these cooperatives are growing and they will soon be out of requesting for funding from the department, but they are a good example to others. Our plan as a department is also to say the young people, especially the mothers, who are having children who get social grants, because we give those mothers the grant for their children. We're trying to see what else we can do to encourage them to build out of the social grant that they get. There are a number of women who started businesses already from a combination of the 350 as well as the child support grant. We would like to encourage that. But when all is said and done, it's about us contributing to the growth of the economy and the creation of jobs overall, and not see ourselves in isolation. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Sabonga Mhlonishwa. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Question number 685 has been asked by the Honorable DP Sibeya to the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thanks to Honorable Sibeya. The department has taken a deliberate approach to implement the revised entities and departments that have a stake in the ecosystem of the cultural and creative sector, such as small business development, communications and technologies, and trade, industry and competition. The policy approach has 5 key areas, which include digital technologies and responses to their impact on the sector. In addition, the recently approved Creative and Cultural Industry Master Plan pays targeted attention to the digital technology. Currently, the department is supporting initiatives at various stages of the value chain of the cultural and creative digital economy. I must say, Chair, that this master plan of the action plans within it, and this number 2 of those deals with this very question Honorable Member is talking about. The key performance action area is product development and innovation support, the manufacturing and access to technology. We also partner with people and companies here on the continent and abroad. For instance, our partnership with the French audiovisual company for digital technology skills transfer happened over years and successfully. Hence, we are now on our own, standing on our own as a department, implementing this particular skill, which we fit. Some of the outcomes of this is, for instance, the Rivonia trial, the whole 230 hours of the Rivonia trial on audio tapes, the TRC also on audio tapes, Codesa records, and many others, which we are doing. We actually fundamentally work according to research through our South African Cultural Observatory. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question is by the Honorable Sibeya.
Thanks, Chairperson. Thanks, Chairperson. Minister, as you know, that the social media has become a dominant social platform which influences users as it enables the rapid distribution of information. This creates vulnerabilities from different influences for children and the youth who are using digital platforms. Mbuzo uti, how does the department work with artists to promote positive values as enshrined in the Constitution to ensure artists do not discriminate others or promote values and norms which expound social ills in the exercise of their freedoms? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And thanks, Honorable Sibeya. You would know, Honorable Member, that one of our flagship programs is actually run by social cohesion advocates, which mainly about the values and good values and good ethics support a moral regeneration movement in this very aspect you're talking about, because the issue of values in society is very important if we are to build a society which is ethical, a society which is going to be able to withstand the tide of influences such as what you see in the social media and so on. But not all what comes from that front is negative. One positive thing is that the pedestal which our society is at of digital technology and the fourth industrial revolution is important for social progress.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I hope you're done. The second supplementary question is by the Honorable Van Dijk.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, the gaming and animation sector have the potential of newly established cultural and creative industries, or CCI firms, to contribute to the growth and job creation of South Africa. While a highly entrepreneurial sector, they face the dual challenges of skills shortages, particularly with regard to the mix of creative and technical skills and the need for transformation. Minister, how will you address these challenges?
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Van Dijk. I think that's a very important question. It's precisely why we decided in 2019 to convene an inaugural film summit. Future is the present and the future. And out of that summit, a lot of resolution came to ensure that we take forward the challenges which come about as a result of ourselves being seen to be a bit on the back foot of the fourth industrial revolution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary is by the Honorable P.S. Matlengozi.
Minister, whatever strides South African artists make locally or globally, it is because of their own sweat and blood, Mr. Minister, not anything you and your department have done. Artists are on their own in this country. And if you had any sense of dignity left, you would be ashamed. How are you planning to change the widespread perception amongst artists that your department has not done anything for South African artists, and that you are only good for appearing at funerals of deceased artists? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. For a moment, I thought the Honorable Member is singing, actually. We have, firstly, this is another question. It has nothing to do with the digital endeavors the department has. Well, it's well and good for, but I can tell you that this very department has assisted artists, has identified artists through the cultural diplomacy program of the department, through developmental projects and so on. We have exchange programs. We have exposed a number of artists of this country in the world, taking them through these very programs we are talking about. Now, I know what this uninformed sentiment by the Honorable Member, which is being peddled all the time. But as and when we have to explain, we do that. For instance, Chair, currently we are one department which was very concerned about our and athletes during these past 2 years. And we have actually reached out to close to 60,000 of artists. And I know that we have not reached everybody, but that number is not a small number. We have invested in the pockets of the artists 808 million rands and created more than 30,000 jobs and retained jobs. So we will continuously engage and educate people who do not know what the department is doing or who choose not to know what the department is doing. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Dana.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister.
Honorable members would like to hear what the Honorable Dana is questioning.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister, as I hope you know, arts and culture infrastructure like theatres and community halls are in a dilapidated state and deteriorating by the day. There is a great need for such spaces that is just not being met. What is being done to empower creative artists in their own communities and to influence and uplift these communities, especially in rural areas, with regards to the maintenance and renovation of existing infrastructure like community theatres and other creative spaces, and what are the department's plans to provide new much needed infrastructure, if any?
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. The department is actually working with the artists at the grassroots level. As we speak in this very financially, more than 300 community art centers throughout the country. And through our program of undermining apartheid spatial development, as you would know, Chair, you used to have only 4 theaters in this country for former Orange Free State, here in Gauteng, Market Theatre, Playhouse in Durban, and Artscape. Currently, in undermining that and ensuring that the infrastructure for artists is up to scratch, we have thus opened Mandela Bay Theatre Complex in the Eastern Cape last year. We've opened a theatre in Northern Cape in Kimberley. We are at an advanced stage in Mpumalanga and Northwest, and in that way would have undermined this apartheid spatial development. We're very much involved, Chair, even in the academies. The National Academy of African Performing Arts in Joburg, for instance, in Jabulani, next to Jabulani Amphitheatre, and that the Kaifa Semenya. Such we are taking to other provinces to ensure that at the higher level, artists, their work is professionalized and ensure that as the research points to us, that their work has to be monetized and digitized.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. It's just a pity, honorable members, that there are technical glitches. But of course, members are at liberty to follow the rules. We know what to do. Question number 753 has been asked by the Honorable Mayberg to the Minister of Water and Sanitation. The Deputy Minister will respond.
Sibonga kakhulu Mpangazitha. The issues of the bucket eradication system informal settlement. We want to report that in 2016 in the Northwest, those that were classified in the formal settlements were eliminated. In the Northern Cape, we still have 596 that still has to be eradicated. And in the Free State, there are 10,222 that we still have to eradicate. We need to indicate that contractors have been appointed for the remaining 7 projects, and the contractors are currently on site to complete this work. Especially several sections of the outfall sewer have been completed, while others are in progress. Work on the construction of the pump station in the respective projects have also commenced. There were delays in terms of these projects, but we are happy to report that after all systems have been put in place, the Northern Cape, the intention is to conclude and commission them by August 2023, and in the Free State by the end of the financial year, which is March 2023. The challenges that has made us have issues of underspending. There was institutional arrangement when this thing was transferred to HDA, and when the new the ministry was made as a single ministry, were to actually bring back the project. The challenges that were faced are related to issues of procurement, especially where we use our internal construction unit, and an infrastructure procurement policy and strategies being put in place. Local business forum have disrupted some of these projects. They are demanding to be given some work. An example in Sesotho, and also in example in Ketwane. And this matter has resulted that we have lost more weeks. And ultimately this matter has been dealt with by the end of October. Some of the projects, there were disputes between the main contractor and subcontractors, and this has been resolved in September. And some of these projects, there were issues of high water table, and you know that you can't impact on the water table in terms of our water loss. We will not have done those projects in that particular area. And these matters are being done by our hydrologist. And the issues of conditions on the ground. And the other issues about is the issues of the bulk infrastructure, which is the wastewater treatment works. And these works, as part of the feasibility studies, are being attended to, because it's useless to increase the reticulation for wastewater when you don't have a wastewater treatment plant to treat the effluent into standard without polluting the rivers. The steps that we have taken, our project management capacity in the department and the implementing agents have been improved. The issues about engagement with communities and how to facilitate so that projects will not be stopped. These are ongoing engagement and the experiences we have learned working with the 2 provinces, including putting an early warning system so that we can ensure that additional capacity is being put in place so that the budget can be used and used wisely. Thanks, Lubula.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Mayberg.
Thank you, House Chair. I'd like to ask the Honorable Deputy Minister that whilst we have heard many excuses from him this afternoon and heard very few reassurances about his department meeting their obligations, would the minister not agree that the fact that his department has, for instance, only spent a mere 17%, 1/7, of the budget allocated for the eradication of bucket toilets, and we've just heard that over 10,000 remains in only one province alone, but would you not agree that this kind of underspend is not only an indication of departmental inefficiencies, mainly due to, of course, we know the scourge of cadre deployment, which brings this about, but also that it demonstrates a serious lack of commitment to deliver the most basic of sanitary services to the poorest of the poor. And is it not time, would the Deputy Minister not agree, is it not time that the government of which he forms part of should follow the very good example of the Western Cape government? Yes. And a government house chair which leads the country in every respect, by all accounts and by every measure. And is it not high time, in order to get proper delivery?
Honorable member, stop. Please.
House
Honourable
Chair, is
Member.
it not?
Go ahead, Honourable Member, who still has 15 seconds.
Would the Deputy Minister not save his department and his government and follow the good example of the Western Cape by getting rid of the indignity of bucket toilets in the rest of South Africa once and for all?
Honourable GM, you can respond.
Malandela, the ANC-led government will never follow what the DA is doing. In the Western Cape, Black people, because of their color of their skin, are being treated as subhuman in their own land of birth. Our people are swimming in sewer, those that are staying in the township as we speak right now, and our people are being subjected to inhumane conditions where they are going to be using those toilets and those toilets that are causing health hazard, including the stench. We will not follow the example of the DA where in Gauteng, in Swane, our people in Hammanskraal, they are being made to actually drink water that is inhumane on the basis that it is not fit for use, on the basis that their wastewater treatment systems are not being addressed to. We are committed that these instances of bringing dignity on our people, especially for the people of Free State, whether in the Northern Cape, whether at Mfuleni, to be able to resolve these issues. And our people can testimony to that. But the DA must stop politicking about these issues when their own performance, whether in Joburg or elsewhere, is actually so abhorring that our people are actually being treated as second-class citizens. I thank you, Dlugula.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question is by the Honourable Mashiko.
Thank you. Minister, having had the answer as you gave in the portfolio committee, a commitment was that the March 2023 is the day for both the Free State and the Northern Cape. Will you want to tell us the separation of Free State from Northern Cape on dates committed as of the March to August 2023?
Thank you very much,
You did not
through you, Chair, and thank my chairperson of my portfolio committee, Comrade Mashiko. The reason why there are these differences, Honorable Mashiko, we've done the proper assessment now, including our own planning. The terrain in the Northern Cape, Honorable Mashiko, is a little bit different. And if you could see that we've managed in some of these areas where the projects must happen, in terms of our design, the soil condition is a problem. The other problem that we have that is pushing the dates about 4 to 5 months is on the basis that the capacity of the bulk wastewater treatment system is not going to be ready. It will be irresponsible then for us to connect those households in terms of the distribution network when the pumps, when the treatment plants are not ready, because we are going to clog the system. And when we clog the system, we will then have the problems of water pollution. Our commitment through yourselves, those who are in our portfolio committee, will bring the detailed work breakdown schedule to demonstrate that the date for Free State, which is the end of the financial year, and the Northern Cape with our own oversight, including the oversight on those members that are deployed in our committee, will ensure that we meet the deadlines. But we are very confident that from engineering and planning point of view, for the first time, all the ducks are in a row, Dlugula. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question is from the Honourable Armo Sala.
It will be taken by Honorable Matulelwa. Deputy Minister, what sort of work has your department undertaken to present and secure picture of the extent of backlogs in sanitation in the country? For example, The city of Cape Town reports that they have eradicated the bucket system. While there are hundreds of people in informal settlements that do not have any kind of sanitation, where people are relieving themselves in the open fields. How does the department account for such instances in order to have a clear picture of the backlogs? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you, Chair. As a department, our responsibility is to put up a clear policy, norms and standard. The responsibility to have sanitation services is a responsibility of local government. We have finalized our national sanitation framework so that we ensure that the kind of sanitation services that is given to South Africans is humane and it meets the standard in terms of environment and health. We do agree with Honorable Member about the performance of the DA in the Western Cape and in the other municipalities. They should not try to claim any easy victories. What we are doing, we are supporting those municipalities that have problems, especially in expanding their sanitation services, because when the population grew, the investment on wastewater treatment and sanitation services was not very consumer rate. We are catching up right now, especially on the issues of informal settlement, the issues of the metros. In rural communities, we are still using the non-SWAT system, and it's our policy that the more if we provide access to water, we'll want our people to graduate from non-SWAT system into a SWAT system so that we can restore their dignity. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Buthelezi.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Honorable Minister, considering that the under expenditure by your department will result in a backlog of adequate sanitation facilities yet to be built, what will you and your department be doing to tackle this backlog and ensure service delivery targets are met? Please provide details. Thank you, Chairperson.
Makeb.
No, thanks, Malandela. Sheng, we have to try to separate two issues. The bucket eradication system program we're speaking to is the support that the National Department of Water and Sanitation is providing to the province of Free State and the Northern Cape. And there is a clear plan on how we want to accelerate to meet the deadlines as indicated of March 2023 and August 2023. Other sanitation services, whether in one rural municipality somewhere in KZN or in the Eastern Cape, is the responsibility of local government, that they must provide these basic services. Ours will be supporting them, but they will not be getting any funding from ourselves. But we are intervening in areas where there is sewage spillages to be able to support local government. But this under expenditure, as we are saying, on the year under review, these are the reasons that I've already given and I've demonstrated that there's a plan of action and we commit that judge us on that particular plan that we've put on the table. But the broader sanitation challenges of South Africa must still be addressed, especially for those communities in rural areas that are still being subjected to these conditions that are very inhumane, that can cause problems both to environment and the issues around their own issues of health that can be affected by sanitation facilities that are not secured. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Question number 717 has been asked by the Honorable Mare to the Minister of Social Development.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. In response to Honorable Mare's question, SASSA does not have any legislative powers to blacklist any individual who were found to be defrauding the social grant system. The Social Assistance Act number 13 of 2004 as amended makes provision for SASSA to review all suspended cases and refer them to South African police for criminal investigation. In 2021, SASSA compared the PESAL database of government with social grant payment system, the SOCPEN, the popularly known SOCPEN database, and identified 165,297 public servants who were receiving social grants. Following this, SASSA undertook a process of review of all these grants as per the process outlined in the Social Assistance Act, with a view to ascertain the eligibility of the identified beneficiaries. By 31st July 2022, SASSA had conducted 80,626 review. The remaining balance of 84,671 were suspended. The SASSA CEO has written to all directors general and heads of concerned departments requesting their assistance to finalize the reviews of the outstanding civil servants. This will include recovery of debt and appropriate disciplinary action. And I know that honorable members will say we've had that before, and the processes of recovery of debt and appropriating disciplinary action takes a very long time. I have already indicated to SASSA and the department that we cannot allow this anymore. We have to quicken the system so that members can feel the comfort that there are people who have either paid back the money or disciplinary action has been taken against them. We've also sought the assistance of the Department of Public Service and Administration and the Public Service Commission to assist in monitoring the implementation of loss recovery and disciplinary action. It is important to indicate that blacklisting is generally applied in debt collection matters, and many of those people who've been under blacklisting, they know that very well. There's a process to be invoked, which includes a written claim for repayment, initiation of court proceedings, obtaining of court order against a debtor or defaulter before the person or debtor or defaulter can be blacklisted. As I reported in the NCOP last week, SASSA has since implemented various measures to prevent and detect fraud and corruption. These include application program interface API, which is used to interface with other databases, bank accounts verification and implementation of biometric identification for SASSA employees as part of the multi-factor authentication required for access to SASSA corporate system, in particular SOCPEN. Plans are underway to work jointly with the Department of Home Affairs to harvest and validate facial recognition as alternative biometric identification. Technology is going to also help us a lot in reducing such cases of fraud in our system. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question by the Honorable Mare.
Thank you, Chairperson. Over and above blacklisting these public servants, the main issue is to ensure that there are sufficient checks and balance to ensure that the window for corruption doesn't exist for initiatives such as these. What have you done to address the weakness that allow public servants to access this grant? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. As I've indicated in answering the question, we have, as a department and all SASSA, have extended the MOU with all data hosts. And I think members would recall that the issue of data hosts has always been a problem for us, not even in terms of the civil servants who are applying. We've also, I spoke to the API, and that we build it to validate the data sets. And Chairperson, one can talk about technology and all kinds of things. This is what I also would like to say, because this is a public platform. It's not only a platform for parliamentarians. Some other people are looking. What is important is to make the to insist on to insist on those that are applying when they know perfectly well that they don't qualify for this application, but they go ahead and they qualify. I don't know what happens to their conscience, because many of them are civil first servants and they are working in government and they are getting their salaries. So it's not only about fixing the system, it's just about also fixing the morality or the moral of the action of what some civil servants do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked
That's
by
the
the
ANC
Honorable.
one. Where's the ANC one?
It's the one Matang is responding to. So I didn't want you to make the mistake.
Oh, okay. This is
Please,
the one. This is not the one.
please. Allah. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable S. Mhlongo.
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo. Minister, yendeka kangaki imitamo le yendiwa ngemacembu ebugebengu kanye nalabanye bantu labenda bugebengu ukuthi bakhwabanise leli gatsha lahulumende lesilibita ngokuthi yisasa lekungilo lelilekelela litiko letenhlalakahle ukuthi linike bantu bala eNingizimu Afrika imali lisito phecelezi ema-grants. Ngutiphi futhi tindlela lenichamuka nato tekuvikela konke lokhu? Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Ngibonge kakhulu Honorable Hlongo. Ngisho ukuthi nje nami ngiyakathi ke ngikhuluma eSwati nami kancane njengoba nawe ukhuluma eSwati. Ngisho ukuthi tigebengu sisenkingeni nje la eSouth Africa ngoba tigebengu tinengi. Noma sithi siyazama ukuthi ema-system wethu azame ukuthi valela. Sometimes siyahluleka ukuthi valela, kodwa ke nge-technology leseyikhona namuhla ngethemba ukuthi lama-system lesesiwabekile ema-system laqala nge-system kona kwasasa ngokwayo, nane ukuthi bona laba besasa labasebentako sikhumbule ukuthi bebangayifuni labanye bakhona le biometric system, and bebangayifuni le biometric system because bebati kahle ukuthi maybe bakhona labakhwabanisa nabo lapha ngekhathi esasa. Manje sesi-implementile ke le biometric system, sesiyayirolla out, sesishintsha nema-password nalokunye, sendela ukuthi kwabona laba labasebenta ngekhathi esasa bangakwadi ukuthi bancede leto tigebengu letingaphandle. Into lebhlungu kakhulu ukuthi njengoba sengishilo nje earlier on, laba apply abati kahle ukuthi abafanelanga ku-apply, ngibo lokufuneka ukuthi sibajezise kakhulu ngoba bayathi ukuthi kukhona abantu labaningi labahluphekako lapha ngaphandle, lokufuneka kube ngibo labayithola le 350 bona bayathi thathela nje. Ngeke sabavumela ukuthi bathathele manje. Ngiyabonga mhlali ngaphambili.
Sabonga Mhlonishwa. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Priet.
Yes, thank you, House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, do you foresee that all the funds that have been incorrectly paid to public servants will be recovered? And is there a time frame, Minister, that you can share with us for the repayment of these monies? I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member. As I indicated earlier on, it's the problem of our own system that takes very long. And I have indicated to SASSA that I'm not really accepting these long processes because members want answers. I also want answers. The people of South Africa also want answers. I cannot necessarily give the time frame. And I think what makes it difficult to give the time frame, it would have been easy if these people who applied were people that belong to the Department of Social Development, where the SASSA employees themselves. The challenge is that many of them are outside, are in other departments. I think what also complicates the situation is the fact that some of the applicants who are in government, some of them do qualify because of the basis of the low salaries that they are getting. They qualify, but not for the 350. And so I'm hoping that our engagement with other departments, and in particular with the Department of Public Service, we will be able to speed up the process. I am anxious about it, member, as yourself, because if we are unable to get the money back, it means our system is failing the people of South Africa. So I'm doing everything I can to engage with SASSA and the department to make sure, if I could actually walk into the offices of those ones who've taken the money and demand that they give the money back. But that's not how it works. There are processes that need to go through, but I'm trying by all means to shorten the process. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And the last supplementary question is by the Honorable Kwankwa.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, earlier you encouraged ukukhuthaza abantu ukuthi basebenzise le grant ye-350 ukuthi baqale businesses. There are instances where beyenzile loo nto but babulawa yi-extortion where kudimandwa imali ngabatsotsi babadubule danunu khona usisodutyulwe at point blank range. After engavumanga ukunikeza ngemali yakhe kwaba bantu eziqalisa lo ngale mali kasasa. But the question, Minister, you've been speaking about building this fully secured, integrated and automated end-to-end system to improve your administration. However, this question is because leakages which you've already cited, but in addition to trying to recover money from civil servants, are we taking steps to make sure that the foreign nationals that also unduly benefited from the system, the countries who are held to account, or probably basibhatale back imali yethu liye kubo ngendlela wrong? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Nkwankwa, for that question. Yes, it really is painful when you find people who are creative and innovative, who want to build on top of the little that government has been able to give them, and then ezigijima emgwaqweni ezingafuni noma ungabanikeza lowo 350 abanye bakhona ngeke baze bafune nokuhamba ukuyozama nje ukuthi bangenzani ngawo. Sibhlungu-ke of course with the loss of life, and I'm hoping that our engagement, continuous engagements, particularly with SAPS in terms of creating security for our people, maybe we will win this battle of crime, because the crime, some of us might be talking about it in high places, but this crime is affecting the most ordinary people who are trying to make a living for themselves. We also want to make sure that in the development of our system, in fact, I think Honorable Nkwankwa, you might have seen a few cases recently of hawks going and swapping on some of our own who have been found to have been gutba abantu abakhwabanisayo. We are hoping that we can be able, working together with the Hawks, we can strengthen that. But when all is said and done, is also about strengthening the monitoring and evaluation within the system itself. Leakages that continue to be there. One of the ways, I'm not saying it's the only best way, one of the ways that we can deal with it is to remove less of people in the value chain. Even though I know sometimes the very system that we put in place, people are always looking for how to break the system. But there are systems that are very, very difficult to break. This is all about algorithms. If we get the right one, it's going to be difficult for people to break into it. Yes, we are doing our best to cut the leakages. And if you look at the broader picture of how many people we're serving, how much money we are spending, and the leakages that are there, it's now become very minimal. But the bottom line is that we must do the best to make sure that we don't have those leakages at all. Thank you, Chair.
Question number 686 has been asked by the Honorable Siwela to the Minister of Health. The Honorable the Deputy Minister.
Yeah. Honorable Chair, it's factually not correct that patients at Rob Ferreira Hospital in Mpumalanga are getting 1 meal a day. Not only are we saying that because we got the information from the Department of Mpumalanga, Department of Health in the province. On a day we received this question. Okay, all right. Charlie Pans. Honorable Chair, thank you very much. Honorable Chair, it's not factually correct that patients at Rob Ferreira Hospital in Mpumalanga are getting 1 meal a day. We are not saying this because we got the information from the Mpumalanga Provincial Department of Health only. On the day we received this parliamentary question, a team of our staff members called Nutrition Unit were visiting Mpumalanga Province, and they also visited this hospital. because in the Department of Health, we do have a system where this unit is monitoring food services routinely in hospitals. Annually, they visit about 90 hospitals in food services and assess them, the standards that they use, which is always reflected in our annual performance plan, as we have indicated also in our 2021-22 of the National Department of Health. Therefore, according to the information that was supplied by the Mpumalanga Department of Health and also by our officials who visited from the national, there are 5 meals a day given to this hospital. The first one is at 5 in the morning, where they get tea and bread. They get their breakfast, badla ngo-9 breakfast, ngo-12 bathole lunch. Isapha idliwa ngo-5. Ngo-8 ebusuku bathole futhi itiye nesinkwa. So kukhona ukudla kukhona kulesibhedlela. Bakudla kuze ube ikhathi ezisihlanu njengoba kwenzeka nakwezinye izibhedlela ngosuku. Ngiyabonga ngesihlanu.
Sabonga Mthonishwa. The first supplementary question, the Honorable Siwela.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Minister, for your response. You will agree with me that economic empowerment is a program in which all sectors can contribute to local economic development. The question is, how does the department leverage its expenditure to support smallholder farmers and cooperatives to be part of the suppliers of local produce goods such as bread and fruits and vegetables? And how does the department support people who are sick but not hospitalized, as we have a significant population below the poverty line?
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chair, thank you, Chair. Honorable Suwala, it is a challenge where there is an economic policy called PFMA that would regulate how you could procure. At the same time, we will wish that there should be an empowerment of the local citizens who have grouped themselves into being small local farmers. It's very easy and convenient for officials to say, no, it should be that Branson enterprise that must supply the hospitals with food. And because it's just too tedious to look at Magumete, who is putting things together and can supply just only potatoes. So it's a challenge that we don't think we have won, but it's an ongoing process where we need to really work and educate and really appeal to our officials not to bend the rules in terms of finances, but to look how they could be innovative and really still be able to get products from those small businesses out there who are trying their best to put just that product and not convenient to say, no, I need that big truck that comes from this big enterprise to supply me, but be innovative in small areas where we are. That part we have not really won. It's a work in progress, and we hope that we will be able to get somewhere with the officials helping us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question by the Honorable Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, I'm afraid I'm not entirely agreeing with your initial response to this question. And I don't think people are being truthful with you. We receive calls from all over the country with regards to starving of patients and people only getting minimal meals throughout the country. And these are people who need proper nutrition to heal. It is essential to the healing process. Given the abysmal performance of the provinces, the 125 billion in medico-legal claims, which is costing provinces millions, and the recent PPE corruption and 10 million rand spent on unusable scooters, which leave these hospitals underfunded and patients unfed, surely you need to address the problems by putting an end to cadre deployment in the health sector and employing more skilled management personnel, number one, who can be honest, and number two, who can prioritize the health of patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Deputy Minister, honorable members, honorable
Chair,
members, please, would you please lower your voices? Honorable Deputy Minister, I hope you caught the question.
yes, the question was about whether there are or no meals at Rob Ferreira Hospital, and the answer has then since been provided. But if Honorable Wilson has also another hospital that she has information on, and probably not making a generalization that there are patients in a particular hospital who are not properly fed, and not mixed to say because you buy scooters, therefore you don't have food, we would have to investigate that part. I would not be able to say right now, is there no or food at Chilizini Hospital or Da'a Hospital? I would not have that data. But if she could provide information that on this specific day on that hospital, there was no food, we would then have to follow up and investigate. Was like I'm saying, there's a unit in the National Department that supports us by visiting hospitals to monitor, because in hospitals, there are two service points. One is an in-service of a kitchen that we have created as a department where we employ people to cook and actually feed. And there's another category of a service provider that cooks elsewhere and bring food within the hospital and therefore serve patients. Either or, we could find inefficiencies if there is, and if there are any, we'll be ready to really investigate and support. There's no way you could actually starve a patient, because having operated a patient who was not well, part of the patient getting better is to eat and support and get proteins and get out of the hospital as quickly as possible. So there is no way you could bring a patient to the hospital and not feed, because part of giving food is actually improving their health and get them back to the community as soon as you can. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question by the Honorable Shira.
Thank you, Chair. The question will be taken by Honorable Suez.
Okay, go ahead, Honorable Member.
Minister, I hear your answer. Maybe it's a perfect answer for Robert Ferreira Hospital, but most of the public hospitals are in decaying state. Recently, we noted that at Kalafong Hospital, the linen was dirty, not washed at regular intervals. There was no food for patients, that nurses were generally fed up with the poor state of management and at the hospital. And this is not the only hospital. We can also make a reference to that Steve Biko Hospital in the Northern Cape in Kimberley. What have you done to develop a set of standards that all public hospitals must adhere to and in terms of food provision and hygiene in hospitals?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable GM.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thanks for the question. In my earlier replies to some of the questions raised, I did make reference to a package of what I call Presidential Health Compact, which has got 9 pillars in it that we need to actually work towards. They were put down there not because we have achieved, but because these are things that are actually, some of them we even call the non-negotiables. The cleanliness of the hospital is a non-negotiable. The security of our staff and patients is a non-negotiable. The provision of medication is non-negotiable. So there's a whole range of issues that we work on towards there. Infrastructure decay is part of it. The improvement of staffing in hospitals. So these 9 pillars are like a guide. And among other things, the Office of the Health Standard Compliance use this tool to actually visit clinics, hospitals, and just indicate how far we have gone in these processes. And they mark us down or up regarding what their findings are. So yes, there may be challenges in those hospitals, but then there are also plans to improve each and every based on this. Because the target is to move on towards national health insurance. No one is going to be happy at clinic A and B if things are not improved this side and improved on one side. So there is a plan, guide, and there's this document that guides us as we improve on all these facilities. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question is by the Honorable MD Thengwa.
Honorable House Chair will take it from this side.
Honorable Minister, the issue of adequate food provision in hospitals is not limited to Rob Ferreira Hospital. It speaks to a greater and more common problems in our country. And we have received reports of patients in Nkonjeni Hospital receiving food full of ants. Have you sent health inspectors been sent to all these hospitals to ensure that the quality of meals given to patients as well as food preparation processes is in order? Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the Honorable Majosi, thanks, Chair. It talks to what one has said, to say if there are issues that in Nkonjeni, it's things that we need to investigate. But I can actually say this much because it's another province that I worked into. There's a tendency to give supply of food to far-flung hospitals from the center and not develop local people who could actually support a fresh cabbage, fresh carrot there and there. So those things are things that are in the system to say, it's convenient for me to just get from this big enterprise and distribute food as far wide as 300 kilometers from the Durban center, rather than to actually get it from the local supply of Nkonjeni. So I may not be able to say on and when was this happening, but it's over and above that. We do have what I called nutrition units in the national departments. They may not be at Nkonjeni tomorrow, but they will always be visiting hospitals. They try and visit about 90 to 100 hospitals per year, going to investigate. Of course, things may just fall apart last month when they've been there 2 months ago, because it's human performance that we are talking about. So we will continue to monitor, but there will not be any plan to disadvantage patients in hospitals to not to get proper food. It's part of the healing process, it's part of getting them to get better. So the tendency will always be leaning on that. How far do we get to food on time, locally, and get them to get it fresh, probably without ants. I can't comment whether they were ants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable members, the time allocated for the questions has expired. Outstanding replies received will be printed in Hansard. That concludes the business for the day and the House is adjourned.
Balibong.